Welcome to my new studio. It's not really a new studio. I mean, I just went from one room to the other. But hey, I got a new chair. I didn't really get this chair either. This chair actually belonged to my grandfather. It's the chair that he used when he was president of the bank where he worked at back in his 20s. So yeah, he was pretty smart and a pretty awesome guy all around. So it's actually quite an honor to be using this chair to do my stupid movie reviews for you guys. So I recently saw the extremely hyped movie Joker starring Joaquin Phoenix. The amount of hype that this movie got was almost kind of inexplicable. You wouldn't really think that a solo movie starring the Joker would get this much buzz and this much excitement around it, but here we are. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, as I said in my trailer review, Joaquin Phoenix is one of the greatest working actors of our time. No matter what this guy touches turns to gold. Any kind of performance that he's in, The Master, that Johnny Cash, Walk the Line, plenty of other films that I'm not exactly remembering right now, which he does just an absolutely sublime performance in. The most amazing thing about it is that you would think that in every role that he's in, he would be a method actor, like De Niro or Daniel Day-Lewis, staying in character 100% of the time and never breaking it no matter if the cameras are running or not. But I actually heard that in this particular movie, he didn't really do that. There was a lot of laughing between him and the director offset, and he was just kind of his normal self when the cameras weren't rolling. But when the cameras were rolling, he turns into this mass murdering psychopath. I don't know. I don't know how he does it. I mean, he is truly a once in a generation talent, and we are quite lucky to be able to see him up on the big screen. And after an introduction like that, yes, it's true, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but after 11 years, Heath Ledger might have met his match. But even as I said it, that might be a little unfair because it's kind of like apples and oranges. I mean, inevitably, Joaquin's performance is going to draw comparisons to Heath Ledger's, so it has to be brought up. But at the same time, they are two very different entities of the same character. This is definitely a much more sympathetic take on the Joker. It's kind of a take of a familiar character which you feel more for, you have more empathy for, more sympathy for. I think that Heath Ledger's Joker was kind of like a mass murderer who was a bit more of a crime boss. Like he had been the Joker for 20 years and he was really used to living in that role. He was really used to, domineering over people and being the one that they are scared of. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is a bit more slimy. He's a bit creepier. It's kind of like a Joker that you would meet on the street, like a guy just sort of walking towards you down a dark alley, and you have a really uneasy feeling about him, but at the same time, you're not really sure if he can do harm to you. It's two very different takes. Now, for most hardcore fans of the Joker, to give him some kind of origin story is not at all acceptable. At first, I didn't really understand why, but after thinking about it for a little bit, I can understand why you don't really want an origin story for the Joker. The Joker is kind of a symbol of chaos. He's an icon. He's not really a character that you can necessarily pin down. And so to give him to give him some humanism, to give him some realism, almost takes away from the terror. But Joaquin Phoenix's performance as well as the screenplay was so good that even though you had a very extensive background of him in this movie, you come across feeling even more scared of him and even more disturbed. And it's kind of funny that I would just praise the screenplay right then and there because that was probably the biggest issue that I had with this movie, but more on that later. This movie brings up a lot of questions that I didn't think I was going to have to ponder. For example, does your disturbing and horrible past excuse your horrific behavior? How much should we expect out of people who are truly sick, both metaphorically and literally? If there is an individual who has a severe mental illness and can't necessarily control their behavior, how much should we blame them for some of the horrible things that they do? I honestly haven't really thought about those questions too much, but this movie is starting to prod me to contemplate them. So kudos to it for doing so. The movie also touches on the phenomenon of groupthink, like how if there's just one certain ideology, the mass hysteria can kind of take over, and individual thought and critical thinking can kind of go out the window. So, in a sense, the movie portrays ideologies controlling people rather than the other way around. It's something that we have to look out for in our day-to-day walks, no matter how immune or smart we might think that we are. One of the movie's greatest strengths, and another message that it tries to give, is who are really the bad people? Is it the people that are more obvious, like the Joker, who wears clown makeup and a nice suit and shoots people and kills people? Are those the bad guys? Or is it more so of the quote-unquote dignified people who know what the right thing is and have the power to actually change things for the better, but choose to do nothing. So yeah, this movie is not at all a superhero film or, a fun time at the theater in a traditional sense. It's going to challenge you, and it's going to make you walk away questioning some of the held beliefs that you might have had in your mind up to this point. Going into this movie, I also forgot that Robert De Niro was in it, which I know sounds kind of insulting because, he's Robert De Niro. He's one of the greatest actors of all time. And he does a fantastic job in this movie. He fulfills his role perfectly. There's really no complaints I have of him. One of the best and most enjoyable parts of Joker was the music. If you're a cello player, you were going to have a field day when you watch this movie. It seems like almost every theme started off with a scratching and aggressive cello, and then strings would come in. There was occasionally brass and other instruments and what have you, but this definitely was a string-oriented movie. Not only that, but the music itself had such a character. It was such a direct and almost specific commentary on the Joker's mental state. When things were going really bad, the strings were going crazy, and the melody had this perfect balance between melody and dissonance, which is almost exactly what the character of the Joker is. That's incredibly simplified, but when things were going really bad, the strings were going crazy, and it kind of had this really nice balance between melody and dissonance, which perfectly illustrates the Joker's frame of mind. You could say that almost the driving force behind this movie is the Joker constantly trying to find, okay, where does his sanity lie, and where does his insanity lie? And the cello and all the rest of the instruments were constantly trying to find it themselves. Most of the Paul Thomas Anderson movies that I've seen, There Will Be Blood, The Master, what's the one with Daniel Day-Lewis that just came out? Phantom Thread, of course. All the music in those movies kind of serve as a direct character of the film, and I'm sure that PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, approved of the way the music itself plays a character in this movie as well. So I said that I would come back to the screenplay, and here it is. So the screenplay really feels like it's building up to something. Especially in the 45 minutes to the hour mark, you feel like it's about to arrive at this, huge payoff, but it never really comes. This movie is really more of a character study. It's a very gritty character study. So if you're the kind of person that likes to sit with a character and just kind of enjoy their development, enjoy them being them, a lot like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, then this is the movie for you. If you are more so of a person who likes to see the characters play out certain events leading up to a giant climax, then you might be a bit disappointed in this one. There's also a twist in this movie that feels a little bit unearned. Granted, it did answer a lot of the questions that I had in my head. Like when I first watched a certain scene that was, especially towards the beginning of the movie, I thought, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why is that happening? And then the twist explained it. So, in that sense, it was good. But it honestly takes away from the drama of the film. I feel like they had something really good going and they could have really elaborated on it and fleshed it out. But once it was revealed to be a twist, it just kind of lost all of its power. It does add to the character of the Joker, so, obviously it has its pros and cons, like I've been telling you, but I don't know, I felt a little bit disappointed when it happened, even though there was definitely some elements of good writing within it. I don't care how much you hate these kinds of movies, I don't care what your expectations are, just go see it for Joaquin Phoenix. If you're a movie fan, you have to go see this level of expertise of acting in a movie. It'd be like if you're a painter or a fine artist and you have the opportunity to go see Da Vinci or Michelangelo or whatever. Even if you don't like what they're doing, you have to go see it. That's one of the great masters. And in the same sense, even if you don't like the Joker or you're not really into drama or gritty movies, if you like acting, if you're appreciative of acting in movies, you gotta go see this one. Joker was a lot of fun. I definitely had an urge to watch it again after the credits rolled, if anything, for Phoenix's incredible performance. And I'm gonna give this one an 8.2 out of 10. So, 2 questions for you guys. Have you seen the Joker movie, and what did you think about it? Also, what is your favorite Joaquin Phoenix's performance? I bet there's at least gonna be one of you guys that said it's from Gladiator. Well, if so, you're a true fan of him. Whatever it is, let me know down in the comments below. Sorry about the vacuum noises. One of the perks / annoyances of still living at home. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next cinematic adventure.